Have you ever thought to yourself, wow, that white person is dressed really well right now? Yeah, neither has anyone else ever in history. White people love to act like they set the standards for fashion, but history proves that they have always been the worst dressed group on the planet. They stole clothing styles from other cultures because their own were too stiff, ugly, and impractical.
Recently, a bold white man came out to condemn how white people have never been good in fashion, how white people have always been stealing fashion from other races, how European or the white people, they have been stealing fashion from of course from black people, the African people, from Indian people, from Arabs. They have never had their own sense of fashion to stand with. He says that white people have never been able to know how to dress. Their mode of dressing has been always pathetic. They have always been having this way of life that is not appealing. They cannot dress. They cannot dress. They cannot dress well. Their sense for fashion was just bad and pathetic. So in this video that I'm about to show you, I will come back after the video, and of course with my commentary. But in this video, I would like you to listen to this man keenly and understand whatever he is talking about concerning white people with fashion, how they have been stealing fashion from other people, and even most recently, I will give you evidence of how there have been allegations of brands, international brands, stealing from African fashion. So guys, before we jump into the video, then kindly I'll ask you to consider subscribe to this channel if this is your first time watching this channel, and if you're a returning subscriber, then I want to commend you for the good work that you do, because without you there is no me. You're the one who is giving me this energy to come every day, stand in front of my camera to shoot this content for you, and then make sure that you turn on post notifications for so that every time I post a new video, you'll be the first person to get notified about it. But right about now, let's jump straight into the video.
They forced themselves into uncomfortable, restrictive outfits for centuries, while the rest of the world dressed for function and beauty. They constantly ridicule non-white fashion, only to turn around and appropriate it years later. They wear cargo shorts, flip-flops, and ill-fitting suits, and still feel like they have the right to judge others. At some point, we have to ask, if white people were the pinnacle of culture, why have they always dressed like confused medieval peasants or lost suburban dads? White people didn't just dress badly, they actively made their clothes miserable to wear. In medieval Europe, people wore heavy wool even in the summer because they never figured out breathable fabrics. Victoria-era clothing was so impractical that women literally fainted from corsets and heat exhaustion. They wore layers of lace, buttons, and rigid fabrics that made basic movement difficult. They forced themselves into powdered wigs, stiff collars, and stockings, while the rest of the world wore functional, stylish clothing. Meanwhile, non-white cultures developed flowing, breathable fabrics like saris, kaftans, and dashikis. They created sophisticated tailoring and embroidery that white fashion only copied centuries later. They wore comfortable, natural materials that suited their environment, instead of suffering for fashion, or whatever that was. White people weren't just bad at dressing, they were bad at dressing for survival. White people didn't create great fashion, they stole it. French aristocrats stole embroidery and silk techniques from China and the Middle East. British colonialists forced Indians to mass-produce textiles for them, then took credit for being master tailors. Western boho and festival fashion is just watered-down versions of South Asian and African styles. Even modern luxury brands rely on African, Asian, and indigenous design influences. White people had no sense of style, so they had to steal from cultures that did. 17th 17th century Europeans wore wigs so tall they had to duck through doorways. I don't know if I can get through this. Renaissance men wore puffy, balloon-like shorts that made them look like toddlers. I'm sorry, that's unprofessional. Victorians dressed their children like haunted porcelain dolls. Colonial officers marched into battle wearing bright red coats, making them the easiest targets in history. They thought they looked sophisticated. They actually looked ridiculous. Meanwhile, Japanese samurai had elegant, functional armor, while Europeans clanked around in metal cans. Indian and Persian royalty wore flowing, luxurious fabrics that were both beautiful and practical. Indigenous people dressed for weather, movement, and purpose. White people dressed for discomfort. White fashion wasn't about looking good. It was about showing off wealth, even if it made them look like fools. White people have no sense of fit, proportion, or color. White men wear baggy, poorly tailored suits that make them look like children playing dress up. Cargo shorts and flip-flops are the official uniform of suburban dads who have given up on life. Skin-tight skinny jeans on men. Uncomfortable and completely unnecessary. Overly distressed jeans and graphic tees, the look of every aging white guy trying to stay hip. Meanwhile, black, brown, and indigenous cultures mastered tailoring centuries ago. They know how to balance fit, proportion, and color. They don't dress like they lost a bet every time they leave the house. White people don't dress for style. They dress for convenience and confusion. White people mock non-white fashion and then copy it years later. They mocked black people for wearing gold chains, then made them a luxury fashion statement. They ridiculed South Asian bindis until white influencers started wearing them at Coachella. They called indigenous headdresses savage until music festivals made them trendy. They laughed at black hairstyles, then paid thousands to get cornrows and box braids. White people don't understand fashion. They steal it, water it down, and pretend they created it. White people have never known how to dress, and it's embarrassing. The best dressed cultures in history, black, brown, and indigenous. White people just followed, and badly. Cope.
So guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Awakened Africa, and I hope we've all watched that video of this bald white man deconstructing his own people about stealing fashion from other races, right? So I will just focus on how some of these European fashion houses, they cannot have their own fashion style. They just they're fond of stealing the fashion. So there is a certain blog post that was written by OK Africa, and it was about I think it was 5 or 6, I think is it 8 years ago? It might be 8 or 7 years ago, because can say 8, right? We can say 8 because it was in 2017. So 8 recent times luxury fashion brands used African designs without including Africans. So this is simply meaning that they stole from Africans. A big shout out to OK Africa, by the way. And there was we had Marc Jacobs dreaded runway, whereby he was accused of stealing these fashion designs from Africa. There was Marc Jacobs whitewashes head wraps, another one. Then there was I think there was Louis Vuitton exorbitant Basotho blankets, and then I think there was a time also, I think Louis Vuitton stole from the Maasai way of dressing, Louis Vuitton's bootleg Maasai collection, so it was inspired by the Maasai people who live in East Africa, by the way. And I think I should attach these photos here, these photos and these texts, so that you can also see as I have done. So these are some of the there was mass fashion retailer make Ghana must go bags, a streetwear trend for privileged fashion elite, So these are some of the some of the fashions that white people stole from Africa, in recent times, right? And then there is Valencia's, there's primitive tribal wear, these all come from Africa, these are African way of dressing. And actually, I think I will attach a photo of mine dressed in a popular African rap, right? It was on my birthday, so I decided, like, let me do this, and I think I will also put it on my thumbnail. By the way, Africans are really good at dressing. There was Matthew Williamson takes credit for the Abesha culture. People, they are fond of copying. And when you come to, I really like African fashion. By the way, I really like African fashion, and I think I will put more time in. Put more time in dressing as a true African son of the soil. So guys, we've come to the end of our video, and I hope that you've learned something from this video. Kindly, if this is your first time, consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure that you turn on post notifications, that every time I post a new video, you'll be the first person to get off it. Guys, I would like you to take me to 1,000 subscribers. Kindly, I'm asking, take me to 1,000 subscribers. But then I'd like to meet you in the next video. Peace out.